Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking something totally unglamorous, honestly, something that's often completely overlooked, and flipping it into an ironclad defense plan for your kitchen operations. We're diving into a brilliant guide on grease trap maintenance. And, it turns out that getting this right, it can literally save your business. Let's get into it.
So let's kick things off with an absolute nightmare scenario. Picture this, right? It's Friday night, your dining room is packed to the brim, tickets are printing nonstop, and then boom, dinner service grinds to a complete halt. Why? Because of an incredibly gross and expensive drain backup. You've got foul odors creeping up out of the floor grates. Honestly, it's every operator's worst fear because it stops your revenue dead in its tracks. No way around it.
And the culprit behind all that Friday night chaos? It's almost always unmanaged fats, oils, and grease, FOG as we know it in the industry. What happens is it bypasses your plumbing's defenses. It doesn't just happen overnight, though. It creeps up slowly over days or weeks of neglect, building up until your system just gives up and can't take it anymore.
So here's what we're looking at today. First, we'll cover the fog threat. Then, we'll build out a baseline schedule. Third, we'll go over how to read the warning signs. After that, we're talking paperwork as protection. And finally, avoiding those costly mistakes. Starting off with Section 1, the fog threat, understanding the invisible enemy. As you probably already know, fog stands for fats, oils, and grease. Your grease traps are essentially your frontline interceptors. They exist specifically to catch this stuff from your prep and dishwashing areas way before it hits the main plumbing system. It's an absolute day-to-day necessity, because if fog slips past the trap, it cools down, solidifies like a rock, and absolutely destroys your plumbing. That's exactly how you get those dreaded backups.
Now, here's the thing you've got to remember. There's absolutely no magic universal schedule for cleaning a grease trap. Your timeline depends heavily on a mix of totally individual variables, like how many meals are you actually serving a day? What's the sheer volume of cooking oil your specific menu requires? Are you working with a massive in-ground interceptor or just a smaller above-ground unit? And crucially, what's your plumbing layout like? Because as the source points out, longer pipe runs or even older pipes can actually speed up how fast these FOG problems develop.
All right, let's jump to Section 2, the baseline schedule, building your defense. So this timeline right here provides a highly effective starting framework. It takes this giant maintenance chore and breaks it down into totally manageable pieces. We're talking daily operation checks to keep the system from getting overloaded, weekly inspections to spot buildup or odors, monthly record reviews, and then your actual pumping every 1 to 3 months. It basically turns a massive headache into a simple, predictable routine.
Let's zoom in on those daily and weekly tasks for a second. Your actual frontline defense, it's training your staff on these immediate steps to stop excessive solids from ever reaching the trap in the first place. Step 1 is super simple, but absolutely vital. Your staff has got to properly scrape plates before dishwashing, no shortcuts. Step 2, double check that your sinks actually feed into the trap and aren't accidentally bypassing it entirely. And step 3, which is a weekly thing, just verify that the baffles are intact and access covers are securely closed to keep rogue debris out. Okay, then we get to the heavy lifting. Pumping and cleaning every 1 to 3 months is pretty standard across the board, especially if your kitchen is running heavy fry stations. But look, this is definitely not a DIY job. This has got to be handled by a licensed grease hauler or a qualified contractor who knows exactly how to safely empty and process all that waste. But hold on, pumping isn't the whole story here. Beyond that routine pumping, you also have to schedule deeper service, usually quarterly or semi-annually. This is when a pro comes in to verify the internal condition of components like your baffles, check the structure for any leaks, and make sure your whole disposal process is fully compliant with local wastewater regulations.
Moving on to Section 3, reading the warning signs, adjusting dynamically.
Look, you can't just blindly follow a calendar. You have to listen to the signals your kitchen is actually giving you. This perfectly illustrates the difference in maintenance mindsets. On one side, you have reactive maintenance. That's waiting until the trap is clearly full. But honestly, by the time it looks full, your system is already under massive stress. On the flip side, we have proactive maintenance. This is where you measure your fog loads, analyze your peak service days, and tweak your cleaning frequency before the trap ever gets overwhelmed. Proactive adjustments are what prevent those Friday night disasters entirely.
So what exactly should your team be looking for? Well, if your operators spot any of these red flags, it's time to instantly reduce the time between your pump outs.
We're talking frequent slow drains, noticeable grease odors creeping up around the access lids, accumulation hitting benchmarks way faster than normal, visible debris that proves plate scraping isn't happening properly, or, and this is the worst one for sure, getting wastewater enforcement notices from regulators. Literally, do not ignore these signals. Next up, Section 4, Paperwork as Protection, the Compliance Shield.
You know, so many people overlook this part, but local jurisdictions frequently demand proof that you're handling your waste correctly. Having specific records on hand dramatically reduces your downtime if a surprise inspection happens. You need to keep your proof of an approved service provider, exact pump-out receipts with the dates, the specific volumes of grease they removed, and all those routine inspection notes. I absolutely love this quote, directly from the guide. It says, "A complete file helps reduce downtime during inspections and makes it easier to defend your program if questions arise." That hits the nail on the head. Please don't skip the paperwork. An organized file isn't just annoying bureaucracy. It is quite literally your best defense when a health or wastewater inspector suddenly walks through your back door.
And finally, Section 5, Avoiding Costly Mistakes, Taking Internal Ownership.
We really need to talk about the operational errors that can completely torpedo even a beautifully planned schedule. The biggest trap, no pun intended, is falling into a set-and-forget mentality. You just can't rely on a fixed interval and ignore changes in your business. Like if you add a new fried chicken sandwich to the menu, or hire a bunch of new kitchen staff who aren't fully trained on scraping plates, your FOG volume is going to spike. Another huge pitfall is confusing a quick, routine pumping with those structural deep inspections we talked about earlier. You absolutely need both to keep the system healthy.
So how do we actually fix this? The best solution is to designate one specific internal leader. Assign a kitchen manager or your operations lead to completely own this schedule. When you have one person tracking the service dates, verifying the vendor appointments, and logging those weekly observations, the whole thing becomes incredibly easy to manage. Accountability is everything here. It really is. Which brings us right to our final thought. Are you treating your grease trap like a set-and-forget asset, or as a living, breathing part of your kitchen? Seriously, think about how your restaurant currently handles this unglamorous, yet entirely critical task. Take control of this process, empower your team, and manage your grease trap before your drains make the decision for you. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and hey, here's to a smooth, totally uninterrupted dinner service.